HOA cut my ugly orange cable, so I severed the trunk line for the whole county. The neighborhood that loved rules. The neighborhood looked like something out of a real estate brochure. Perfect sidewalks, freshly painted houses, identical mailboxes standing in neat rows. Everything looked controlled. Everything looked planned. And that was exactly how the HOA liked it. Nothing out of place, nothing unusual, nothing ugly. But sometimes the thing the HOA calls ugly is actually something far more important. My work from home setup, unlike most of the neighbors, I worked from home and not just any kind of remote work. I managed network infrastructure for several companies. Internet reliability wasn't just convenient for me, it was my job. My house had a small network room, servers, routers, backup systems, and most importantly, a direct fiber connection. The orange cable, the connection came from a thick orange fiber cable. It ran along the edge of my property, then disappeared underground near the street. The cable was installed by the telecom company, fully permitted, fully approved. But there was one problem. It was bright orange, and apparently Karen hated it. Karen notices the cable. Karen had a habit of walking around the neighborhood every morning, inspecting things, looking for HOA violations. One day she stopped in front of my yard and stared at the cable. Later that afternoon I received a message from the HOA. It said the cable was visually disruptive to the neighborhood aesthetic. They wanted it removed. The first explanation, I explained the situation politely. The cable wasn't decoration, it was critical infrastructure. It connected directly to a regional fiber trunk line. Removing it wasn't just inconvenient. It would interrupt network connections across multiple areas. But Karen didn't care about technical explanations. All she saw was an orange cable. The warnings over the next few weeks. The HOA sent multiple notices, each one demanding the cable be fixed, paint it, hide it, or remove it completely. I replied every time with the same information. The cable belonged to the telecom company. Only authorized technicians could touch it. Cutting it would cause serious outages, but Karen believed something else. She believed HOA authority was stronger than reality. The day everything changed, one afternoon I was inside my office working. My monitors suddenly lost connection. The internet dropped instantly, all systems offline. At first I assumed it was a temporary outage, but when I checked outside, I saw something that made my stomach drop. The orange cable was lying on the ground, cut clean in half. The security footage. Luckily, the cameras on my house recorded everything. The video showed Karen walking up to the cable, holding a pair of heavy garden cutters. She looked around briefly, then snapped the cable like she was trimming a weed and walked away. The immediate impact inside my house, everything was down. Servers, connections, remote systems. But the damage didn't stop there, because that cable wasn't just feeding my house. It connected to a fiber trunk line serving multiple routes across the county. And once the signal dropped, a much bigger problem started spreading. The calls began within minutes. My phone started ringing. Clients asking why networks were down. Data centers reporting connection failures. Multiple regional nodes suddenly offline. The outage was spreading fast. All because one cable had been cut. The technicians arrived less than an hour later. The telecom trucks arrived on the street. Then another. Then another. Technicians began inspecting the damaged line. Their expressions quickly turned serious. Because they realized exactly what had happened. Someone had cut a live fiber connection. Karen's confidence. Karen walked outside during the commotion. She looked annoyed, not worried. Annoyed when a technician asked if she knew anything about the cable. She proudly answered, "Yes, I cut it. It was violating HOA appearance rules." The technicians stared at her, completely speechless. The explanation, one of them finally spoke. "Ma'am, that cable feeds a trunk line." Karen shrugged. "Well, it was ugly." The technician paused, then said something that changed the entire mood of the street. "That line connects infrastructure for the entire county." The silence. Karen's expression froze. Neighbors standing nearby stopped talking because suddenly everyone realized something important. This wasn't a simple neighborhood argument anymore. This was damage to critical infrastructure. Authorities arrived shortly after that. Utility supervisors arrived, then local authorities. The statements were taken, footage was reviewed, and technicians began emergency repairs. Splicing a fiber trunk line isn't simple. It requires specialized equipment, precision tools, and hours of careful work. The long night bright work lights filled the street. Large equipment trucks blocked the road. Technicians worked late into the night restoring connections. Meanwhile, Karen stayed inside her house, her confidence from earlier completely gone, because the consequences were finally becoming clear. The realization: the next morning the network was restored. Systems came back online. Connections stabilized. But the investigation continued. Because cutting telecom infrastructure isn't just a mistake, it's considered serious damage, especially when it affects thousands of people. The lesson for the HOA after that incident: the HOA stopped sending notices about cables. They stopped complaining about technical equipment. And Karen stopped inspecting my yard. Because the neighborhood had learned something important. Some things exist for a reason, even if they don't look pretty. What would you do? If someone damaged critical infrastructure just because they didn't like how it looked, how would you handle it? Would you report it immediately? Let the authorities deal with it, or confront them directly. Comment below and tell me what you would do. And don't forget to write your city and country in the comments. If you enjoy stories like this, like the video and subscribe for more unbelievable HOA stories. And I'll see you in the next one.